Professionals serving community. Talkradio.nyc.
Back. It's another Friday morning. I made the trek. I made the journey from the kitchen, 2 cups of coffee, a big mason jar of water. Your boy, the one and only, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from the top of my house, just below the roof in the attic. There's proof that I'm in the attic in my house because my dog Cheeto keeps howling downstairs because he wants to come up to the attic. But I said, dude, this is my show, not your show, Cheeto. So the show is Philanthropy and Focus. I am the nonprofit sector connector. Lots to do, lots of fun things, lots of fun conversation. Fred Sganga is my guest, executive director, Long Island State Veterans Home at Stony Brook University. Fred, what's up, man? What's going on?
Hey, Tommy D, good morning to you and happy holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Let's throw all three in and a
100%.
prosperous and healthy 2025, my friend.
I love it. Right back at you, my man. Yes, happy holidays to everybody. Whatever your celebration is, we wish you a happy holiday, happy season. It is a great time of year. Everybody's fired up. So much good stuff going on. And I just hope the momentum of philanthropy and give back and volunteerism goes right into 25. This is a time of year when everybody's like, let's do the food drive, starting back at Thanksgiving and Giving Tuesday. Don't forget about your nonprofits. Get involved, volunteer, get involved, do the work. Couple quick things before Fred and I get into this important conversation. I got to shout out the Long Island Imagine Awards. I am going to share my screen right here on the show live and just tell you what's up with the Long Island Imagine Awards. We just selected, I say we, the committee of the Long Island Imagine Awards selected the semifinalists of the 2025 Imagine Awards. So let's go to the right page, Tommy D. Let's do that. Very cool. Go to ImagineAwardsLI.com, ImagineAwardsLI.com, and I'm going to read them off just in case you're not watching, if you're listening only, if you're in listen-only mode, as they say. The Serenian Associate Social Impact Award, you have ACDS, Catholic Charities of Long Island, Friends of Karen, People's Ark of Suffolk, Stony Brook Children's Hospital. Shout out to Stony Brook, right, Fred?
Absolutely.
United Way of Long Island, ECL Vibes, which is Victims Information Bureau of Suffolk. The Sir Tillman Bowden Leadership Excellence Award. We have Suzanne Tremera from Hair We Share. Hampton's Community Outreach. I'm wearing the hat right now. You guys can't see it because I'm sharing the screen, but shout out to Merritt Mullen out at Hampton's Community Outreach. What a really, really important organization doing great work. Lauren Wagner at Long Island Arts Alliance. Terry Magro, my friend, over at the Michael Magro Foundation. My other friend, Yolanda Rapano Gross at Options for Community Living. My other friend, Suzette Gordon. Shout out to SEO Family Services. And of course, Linda Beagle Shulman of the Scott J. Beagle Memorial Fund. Then we go into the JP Morgan Chase DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Award. CM Performing Arts Center, Destination Accessible, Harmony Healthcare of Long Island, Huntington Arts Council, the Heckscher Museum of Art, Nest at Nassau Community College, one of my alma maters. Shout out to Nassau Community College. And of course, the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center, where I'm a board member. Man, I tell you, you think, Fred, if I didn't have a nickname, I should be the nonprofit sector connector. I'm like connected to many of these organizations.
This is unbelievable.
It's really special, man. The Imagine Awards are great. If you have you ever been to the Long Island Imagine Awards?
I have not.
You're my guest. Come with me. I'll tell the date later on.
All right.
Claire Friedlander Family Foundation Arts and Culture Award, Bay Street Theater, Co-Dance Co., which is Dancing Classrooms in Long Island, Gold Coast Arts Center, Huntington Arts Council, Long Island Children's Museum. Shout out to Nyrika. Shout out to Erica Floresca over there at Long Island Children's Museum. This is a cool one. I don't know much about the Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame other than the application I got to read last couple weeks. The Tillis Center for Performing Arts over at LIU, not too far from the attic. And then we have the Flagstar Bank Innovation Award, Cinema Arts Center.
Been there.
You've been there, right? Gerwin
Yep.
Healthcare.
Shout out to Stu Alma, my buddy, runs that place.
At Gerwin or Cinema Arts?
Gerwin.
Erwin, shout out. You said Stu, right?
Stu Almer. Yep,
Stu, good. Let's get Stu on the show. We'll have to work that out. Maybe you help me out behind the scenes, Fred.
absolutely.
Make it happen. Here we share again in this category in innovation. SCO Family of Services, Springboard Incubators, not one I knew much about, but certainly excited. We'll get them on the show. The Ward Melville Heritage Organization, and We Connect the Dots, which I had Lori carry on the program just 2 weeks ago from We Connect the Dots. And then we have the Vanguard Benefits. I know that. That's our company. The Vanguard Benefits Rising Star Award, Balloon Mission, Bikers Against Child Abuse. I had the opportunity to meet a bunch of these bikers. Oh my goodness, I met them. I guess it was maybe 6 months ago. We were at a run walk on an early Sunday morning. Unbelievable work they do. The Center for Environmental Education and Discovery, Long Island Lending a Helping Hand. Nosh delivers again, local to the attic. Shout out to the team at Nosh. Welcome to the Imagine Awards. I was thrilled to see the application. Quag Wildlife Refuge and Sibs Place. Lastly, before I get into this conversation with my friend Fred Sganga, Hall of Fame winner being inducted into 2025 Hall of Fame. The Jovia Financial Credit Union Hall of Fame goes to the LGBT Network. And it was only last week. I'm going to stop sharing again. Go to imagineawardsli.com. It was only last week, Robert Vitelli, who is the CEO of LGBT Network, was here right on the program. So, Fred, a couple weeks ago, back in November, you and I didn't even really know each other up until like a month and a half ago, right? It was
Right.
came out with Philanthropy Network in New York. We brought out some volunteers. We did 2 days in a row volunteering at the Long Island Veterans Home out there at Stony Brook University. It was my first interaction with the team. It was my first interaction with you. And then the funny thing about it is just how life works. We were also scheduled for November 15th, where I was the
Right.
quote unquote MC Tommy D at Philanthropy Day. And you were one of the panelists. And Robert Vitelli, who I just mentioned, was one of the panelists. Vanessa Beard Streeter and Neela. Vanessa Beard Streeter here on Long Island, and Neela also here on Long Island from EAC Network. And it was an incredible conversation. And you and I really, I think maybe I gave you a little bit of the business. I gave you a little bit. I think I was giving you a hard time a little bit, man. We were talking about
Well, a lot of questions on AI, Tommy. Come on.
I didn't make those questions up either, Fred. So we're not going to talk anything about AI today. But I think I gave you the business when you were like talking about QR codes, and I was like, oh wow, I was like, oh, those are brand new. I was giving you the business, but
Uh,
I knew, when you can, because we already had that rapport, so we could
absolutely.
give each other that hard time. But it was great that day. It was great the day to come out for the visit.
It
Here's
was a
what
big turnout. Big turnout. A lot of people, a lot of good connections, a
it
lot
was.
of
Yeah,
good
that's
vibe in the room.
100%. Isn't that what it's all about? It's all about the relationships. It's all
Of
about the
course.
relationships and making those connections. This day today, though, is all about you. It's all about you, the organization, what the work is that you all are doing. I could tell just from meeting with you a couple of times how passionate you are about serving those who have served this country. And I want to really start with really your background, though, Fred. Like, how did you get to this work? What, were you always involved? I know you have a background in healthcare, but I really want to start at the beginning because although you and I are friends, I don't know that much about your story. I like hanging out with you. You like hanging. I hope you like hanging out with me. You showed
I
up.
do.
Showed up
Mhm.
this morning. I guess you like part of it. Let's find out though. Who is Fred Sganga? What was your journey? What drew you to the work you're in now? Why is the veteran community so important to you? Healthcare. Let's talk about it.
So my background is I was born and raised in Flushing, Queens. I had my godmother was a director of nursing of a hospital in the Bronx, and at a very young age, I was exposed to healthcare. Probably when I was about 14 years old. Spent a lot of time volunteering in the emergency room at Misericordia Hospital in the Bronx. Then when I was 17 and a half, I got fascinated with healthcare. I went to class to become an emergency medical technician. Day after my 18th birthday, I took the state test and became the youngest emergency medical technician in the state of New York. Simultaneously, I went to Hunter College. Um, and at the time, Donna Shalala, who's a former Health and Human Services secretary, was the president of the college. I don't know if you remember, Tommy, back when Mayor Beam was the mayor of New York, massive budget cuts. And I have my EMT license, and they eliminated all the physicians and nurses from all the CUNY colleges. So we had a ragtag squad in the building. I happened to save a professor's life with CPR. Shalala called me up to her office and said, we'd like you to coordinate emergency services in the building. Would you do that for me? And technically, I was a young kid. I was about 19 years old, and that was,
When that happened, you saved somebody's life, and then you
yeah,
get unbelievable.
yeah. So that was my start to healthcare administration. I
Wow.
was moonlighting as an emergency medical technician on at a Misericordia Hospital in the Bronx. I did that to put myself through college. I got my BS degree in community health.
Yeah.
Um, I was an average student in high school, but got the 4.0 out of Hunter because I found my destiny. And I think for those listening who might be toiling with high school, when you get to college, you get to decide what you want to do, what you want to be. And I think that helps your GPA at the end of the day. I did so well, I got into the Masters in Public Health program at Columbia University. I had to do a 1 year fellowship in order to get my degree. I came home to Flushing, Queens. There was a hospital at the time, which is now called New York Presbyterian Queens. At the time, it was Booth Memorial Medical Center. It was one of 5 Salvation Army hospitals in the United States of America. I had a very great mentor. He's passed away about 10 years ago, but shout out to Frank Camerano in heaven, who was really my guiding light. Did my 1 year at Booth, stayed on for an additional 2 years in strategic planning, but really wanted to be in operations. So took an opportunity at the Jamaica Hospital. I was vice president for ambulatory care. Wasn't making a whole lot of money, but I got a whole lot of great experience. And then after 3 years, Frank had called me back and said, "Why don't you come home to Booth Memorial?" Became an associate administrator there. Worked for a few more years. And then I was moonlighting, Tommy, because that's what healthcare executives do, Monday through Friday at Booth Memorial. But I was working weekends at Mercy Medical Center in Rockville Center, Long Island. And after a couple of years, they approached me and said, "Would I like to jump ship and come to work for them?" I decided to jump ship because Booth Memorial was being sold to New York Presbyterian. Not that I couldn't have stayed there, but I wanted to try something else. Did a few years at Mercy Medical Center. Very happy there. Great hospital, great community hospital. And then, believe it or not, got a call from a friend to say, "How'd you like to work for a Wall Street company?" I really didn't know too much about it, but a new company had formed. They raised $800 million on Wall Street. It was called Complete Management. They did physician practice management. Took a job with them, worked for them for about 2.5 years. Was incredibly miserable because I don't think I was drawn to the for-profit side of the business, and they were in the for-profit side of the business. They eventually went bankrupt, but a year before they went bankrupt, I got another call, and shout out to all the healthcare executives who might be listening. Networking is so important. I can't tell you how important that is. Got a call and I was asked would I take an interview for a CEO position for a hospital in New Jersey. It was called Bergen Regional Medical Center. So that was in late 99. I had always had a goal of wanting to be a CEO of a hospital before I turned 40. So here I am, 39 and a half, taking this interview. And I was offered the job on the spot. It was a county hospital in Bergen County, town of Paramus, and they were privatizing the county hospital. So I was their first CEO under the privatization, and was there for about 3 years. It was a hell of an experience. But towards the end of the 3 years, I got this another phone call to say would I be interested in running the Long Island State Veterans Home. And I had a nursing home license, Tommy. You have to be licensed to run a nursing home. You can run a big, bad hospital, don't need a license. But if you run a small 50-bed nursing home, you need a license. Always had my license because my mentor encouraged me to get that. Did it right during my fellowship at Booth Memorial. Took the interview. And Tommy, here I am. I thought I'd be here for 4 or 5 years. I started here in 2001. And now here it is. We're approaching 2025, and I'm still working here. I was fascinated by the fact that a skilled nursing facility completely dedicated to military veterans, their spouses, widows, and Gold Star parents sat on a college campus. And I just thought that was so great that was a unique situation. So in my mind, I took the opportunity. Um, and the rest is history. I'm here now. So
Well, first of all, talk about history. I mean, we're in the present. You're doing this incredible work. I'm just floored by your all of these accomplishments and how young you started doing what
Oh
you're.
yeah.
That's, a couple things I want to draw out from that conversation. You stress the importance of networking. Gang, I'm the nonprofit sector connector. I'm all about that, right? I love
Yes.
how it wasn't, Fred never said, everybody listening, young or old listening, Fred didn't say, hey, I sent in a resume, or hey, I had an
That
application.
I've never done that in my entire career.
Why? Because the phone kept ringing, right? Every 3, 5 years, the phone was ringing, right? Why?
Yes.
People knew of your track record, the great work you're doing, the success you had, and how you were impacting organizations, so they would reach out to you. How important is that, right?
It is important, and I've always been a big fan of. I back in the day, there was an organization called the Metropolitan Healthcare Administrators Association. I am a past president of that organization. It's a morphed into a better organization called Healthcare Leaders of New York, or HILNY. Uh, Believe it or not, even at my age, with my hair color, I still attend their events because I like to meet the young Turks in the industry. Keeps me alive, keeps me guessing, keeps me on the cutting edge. What I didn't mention, Tommy, too, is that I'm on the adjunct faculty at the Hofstra University in their MHA program, Masters in Healthcare Administration. And I just celebrated my 31st year doing that. I have not missed a semester in the entire 31 years that I've been there.
It's. I was talking to somebody this morning. I'm actually recording 4 episodes of a new show I'm doing. It's called Long Island Changemakers. I'm doing it this afternoon, and I was talking to a friend of mine this morning before you and I met. She's outside of Philadelphia, adjacent to healthcare, so it's interesting that you and I are talking about this today. But it was one of those things where you say, you need something done, give it to a busy person, right? Because a busy person is going to find a way to do it. And you know what? Excuses, gang. Excuses are terrible. Get rid of them. Get rid of your excuses. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too short. I'm too tall. Whatever, man. That's all nonsense. That's shenanigans in your head. Get rid of it. What Fred is saying, though, he has plenty of things he's involved with. And, you have family, right? So it's not like a situation where you didn't find time to do the whole thing.
No, I mean, my dance card is full, but because I want it to be full and I enjoy it. And to be honest, Tommy, I'm struggling with the idea of potentially retiring because I really love what I do.
Can't
So,
do it. Don't you do it. We'll talk. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll take a quick break. What I want to come back with is too. We talked about networking. I want to talk about that piece with young people and mentoring. And you keep mentioning your mentor, who his name was Frank or Fred. I
Frank Camerano.
Camerano. So I want to talk about the importance of mentoring. I want to talk about that thing you said about when folks get to college versus high school and they get to make their own choices, which I talk to
Sure.
home for children about. So Fred Sganga is with me, Long Island State Veterans Home out at Stony Brook. We're going to talk about the organization. We're going to talk about the impact of the organization. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. Right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
It's always that first break when we come back from the first
You
break.
know, I have a theme song too, Tommy.
Yeah, I was going to say, so my first break.
Long Island State Veterans Home, serving those who served.
Long Island State Veterans Home, serving those who served. Who knew we were going to get you and me to sing on the show? Fred,
Karaoke, you're doing it all. Come on, that's great.
I used to say early on in this show, we used to say, okay, now that you know the song, you got to sing it, right? But now you're making me sing on the show. I love it. Is that your theme song, or do you use it in commercials and stuff or video?
So it's funny, we do a lot of radio advertising to reach out to the veteran population. And we work with Connoisseur Group, and they came to us and said, you guys need a theme song. I'm like, what's that going to cost me? They said, no, no, it's free. I said, oh, how does that work? So we called a consultant down in Nashville, Tennessee. That's where all the musicians hang out, and we had about a half-hour conversation, and we gave them all the mottos and themes and all that. And 2 weeks later, they sent us a CD with our theme song on it, and we play it at all our events. Actually, it's
Who knew? Who knew you had a who was singing it? Is it do we know the
I
singer?
I don't know. It was a bunch of singers, but they recorded in Nashville, and the radio station paid for it, so that was even better for me.
Listen, my favorite price is free. That's like one
Yeah.
of my favorite prices.
No, no, you got to do OPM. You know what OPM is?
Other people's money.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. That's the money I like to spend.
Yes, sir.
I spend mine too. I'm pretty good at it. Talk to my wife. She'll tell you, Tommy D, enough. So, all right, let's get into it. I want to just, before we get to, there's really important questions that are on my mind. All right.
Yeah.
You're a kid from Flushing, Queens, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Your aunt was up in the Bronx. So now,
No, no, she lived in Flushing, but she worked in the Bronx. Yeah.
so you spent time up at the hospital in the Bronx.
Yes.
Here's an important question that I'm going to ask you as it relates to a baseball team that plays in Flushing, Queens. Okay, don't shake your head. Don't tell me you're a Yankee fan.
I am a Yankee
How
fan.
could you be a Yankee fan? You're
I
from.
was enamored by Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris.
Oh my
People
goodness.
were so upset that these two guys were competing for the home run. And
Yeah.
I'm like, figure it out. We got two guys hitting home runs, man. Can't get any better than this. You know,
Oh my goodness.
everybody wanted Mantle to win. I was rooting for Maris. I always liked the underdog, and it all worked out.
Well,
You know,
I got to shout out my friend Mick Collins, who is named after the Mick. He's a huge Yankee fan. Shout out to Mick Collins. He's
yeah.
a good guy for you to know. He's involved in the nonprofit sector, Fred, and Mick does works with a company called Pay It Forward Processing. They're a merchant processing company that gives back money to nonprofit organizations.
Tommy, I was ostracized as a young child in Flushing,
You
Queens,
should
with my
have been.
Yankee.
I love you, but you should have been
I mean, I
ostracized.
had my Yankee shirt on, and not cool.
Again, you just want some. Listen, when the world zigs, I try to zag too. But
But
like,
I do have a story. My brother was a Met fan,
yep.
and in 1969, we snuck into the game in the seventh inning because you didn't have to pay. And I was part of that group that tore the grass up off the field,
Kidding.
and we replanted it. And my dad was a huge Met fan, and my brother was a huge Met fan. So we replanted some of that Shea Stadium grass in our backyard in our home in Flushing.
Now that's a cool story.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me you took it up to the Bronx and replanted it up. I got a Yankee fan stealing our grass too. Come on, man.
Sod. It was sod. Come on.
Stealing grass. That's a whole nother show, guys. We're not going to talk about stealing somebody's grass today. But look, I think I always get a kick out of that. So I have two cousins, grew up in Belrose, Queens, brothers. My cousin Vinny, my cousin Mickey, and one's a Met fan, one's a Yankee fan. And it's just it happens, right? It happens. It is what it is. But you know what? It's been a good couple weeks to be a Met fan. And I know Mick Collins. You always.
Oh, there you go. What are you going to throw Soto out at me? Come on.
What are you going to do? What are we going to do? I'm not going to bring it up. I won't bring it up. We'll move on.
He didn't want to be second banana to Judge. I think that's why he left.
Listen, love that. Whatever the reason is, and it ain't my 765 million buckaroos, so I don't really care. I'm just happy we got it. I know I know all my kids are gonna. I gotta go buy 5 Soto jerseys. I know that.
Oh, uh-oh.
It's exciting. Let's get into this piece that you mentioned because I think it's critically important for the young folks listening, and not just young folks, other folks who are listening. I have 4 young children, right? Nobody's in college yet. And some days they tell me they don't want to go to school. Only like Monday through Friday, they tell me they don't want to go to school. So some days, like 5 days a week, they tell me this, right? I don't want to go. I don't want to go. My deal is like, let's get involved and find something you're really fired up and interested in, right? We got to get you through high school. That's a non-negotiable, right? After that, though, after school, like I have sons who are very involved in sports. One of my daughters is very involved in performance and singing and things like that, right? So they have extracurricular activities and extracurricular interests. But something you said there, when you go to college, you get to make different decisions. I would say, though, you were 17 and a half being, signing up to be an EMT. You were 14 working in a hospital, right? You did this
Yeah.
young. You found something that interested you, right?
Yeah, I think parents really have a responsibility to provide their kids with a lot of experiences best they can. I'm blessed to have two great kids. My oldest daughter, Danielle, is a pediatric cardiologist at Boston Children's. And my young one, Tommy, is on CBS News. Nicole Sganga, she's a journalist out of Washington, D.C. But I think back to my daughter, Nicole, who attended Cold Spring High School, and I never thought she was going to graduate because she was involved in so many extracurricular activities that she didn't have time for school Monday through Friday. And the amount of sick days she had on her card was like, I don't think you're going to graduate. You know what? Went on to go to Notre Dame in a scholars program, went on to go to Oxford to get her master's degree. But when I watch her on TV now, I keep thinking about all the 14 different plays she was in when, theatrical plays from elementary school up to high school. And she found a way to find out to do what she loved because she didn't love the other stuff in school, but there were certain parts that she loved and she made a career out of it. Meanwhile, my other daughter, smart as a whip, uh, loved the sciences, went down to Vanderbilt to get a degree in biomedical engineering, and then went on to find her passion as a physician. But we always gave our children experiences every winter break, every summer break. We wanted them to experience, all different kinds of occupations.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's what it is too, and you do get to make that extracurricular jump when you're at the college level, right?
yeah.
I like some flex.
Tommy, when I started Hunter College, this was before computers because I'm a little older than you, but they handed me the course outline book, and I took it home with a highlighter, and I just went through this book, and I said, "My God, look at all these courses I could take that I really think I would like," and I just kept highlighting them, and that's what I did for 4 years, and then they gave me a job while I was there too and paid my tuition. So it was I
Yeah,
carried a beeper around all day in class
why?
and they were paying me to go to school.
The beeper because the school had you on call for things?
Yeah, because it was like 911. If security got an emergency medical call, there was a bunch of us who were EMTs would respond to whatever the situation was until 911 would show up in the building. So, and then the president of the college went on to be Bill Clinton's Secretary of Health and Human Services, Donna Shalala. So I was meeting some powerful people at a young age.
So let me talk to you about that piece, and then we're going to get into the veterans home. But let's talk about, were you intimidated as a young person meeting, these influential people?
No, I had a skill. They needed that skill. I kind of monetized it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I tell young people, it's great to go to school. It's great to get a great degree, but show us where on your resume that you got your fingernails dirty, and that's very, very important. I teach now in the graduate program at Hofstra, future healthcare executives, healthcare leaders, and they're getting a great academic experience. But some of them choose not to work while they're going to school, and I'm like, that's not the right thing to do. You have to figure out doing something. It doesn't even have to be in a leadership role. Just work in a hospital, see how it operates, see how it works. Be exposed to it. So
It should be though in that field. And right now, they shouldn't, listen, everybody does what they got to do. I was a bartender, shocking probably to everybody here with my personality, but I attended bar
right.
for put myself through college. But I wonder I'm thinking, I want to key in on what you're saying. They should have some level of experience in the trades in of what they want to do, right?
Absolutely. Tommy, listen, I'm going to Columbia, all right, university.
Yep.
I'm going. So this was before Obamacare. And my parents called me into a room and said, you know what? You need health insurance because you're no longer covered after you're 21. I'm like, what do you want me to do? They said, well, you got to get a job. I'm like, okay, I'll get a job. So I used to work Saturday night, 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. the next morning, Sunday, go home and crash back in Queens, come back to the Bronx at 7 p.m. on Sunday night, work till 7 a.m. the next morning. Now, what does that mean? I got my 24 hours in, in a weekend. So you needed 20 or more hours
Get
a
your
week to get
insurance.
healthcare benefits. Right. But at 7 a.m. on Monday, I was headed to class at Columbia for a full day.
That's,
And I had a partner at the time who liked to be in the mix.
yeah.
He wanted to respond to every call, and I'm like, no. Let's go a little bit easier tonight. I got to go to school tomorrow. So
Unbelievable. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it is. It's like you were in the work, but you know what? That's a young man's game too. To hustle like that over the weekend.
yeah. But Tommy, it teaches you resiliency, and I don't think we're doing that now for kids. I think that's the problem. You know, well, the issue, not the problem. So
I think it's a challenge
the
issue.
challenge, yeah.
I'm with you on that. I mean, it's we have to. God, you said get your nails dirty. God, really? Let's go. Like get gritty. Like what? You know, I see it in like some youth sports and things like that.
Hmm.
Kid misses a shot, is like not excited, is like gets very upset. I've seen it recently where they miss. Let's go. So you missed a shot. Let's go. Next play. Like
Yep.
you gotta. That's a whole nother thing about society and things like that. But I think
Well,
those
you should be able to fall down and pick yourself up. Come on.
I always say walk it off. It's funny. We have to take a quick break, but when my oldest was younger, when you first have a kid, right? You
Sure.
they fall down and you get worried and you go, oh my God, right? Like and then they react or respond to that, right? So like now they cry, but then you're like, yo, let's go, walk it off. Like by number 4, we're like, let's go, kid, let's go. You know, come on, you two, feed yourself, figure it out. Let's get out of here. We got to keep it moving, right? Like anyway, but that's life though. Life is it's not going to be. I was watching something this morning on Instagram and it was Tom Brady and he was saying you don't feel like doing it. Like he said the F word, F your feelings. You're not in the mood to do it. F that. Like go, let's go. Like the idea is you're not always going to be jazzed about doing it in the moment. So sometimes you got to do it when you're not enthusiastic, right?
I
That's
tell people stop talking about it. Just do it.
do it. Nike does that, right? Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to learn about the organization, a day in the life. You're going to walk us through what goes on,
You
how
got it.
services that the organization provides, that whole thing. We're way over on break time, but that's what we do here on the show. Welcome back or not welcome back. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Static. Join me in the attic. I'm sharing the website right now for Long Island State Veterans Home. There's some facts here that Fred and I are going to walk through now. Fred, when I first met you, you had shared with me like it was so long ago, 6 weeks ago. I was like, when I first met you, like when we when we first met, you told me this story about Abraham Lincoln and the organizations. So can we start there? Can you give me the history of State Veterans Home? What's that all about? Let's get into what you all do out at your
Sure, Tom. Thank you for that. And don't confuse us with the Veterans Administration or the VA. We receive funding from the VA, but there's 171 state veterans homes in our great country. Each and every one of them is owned and operated by the state that they're in. Every state has at least one home, and so does the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. But Abraham Lincoln, who we affectionately call number 16, He was trying to bring the country back together after the Civil War. He did two things. He said whether you served in the Union Army up north or the Confederate Army down south, we have a responsibility to take care of our soldiers and sailors, and that's what he did by forming the VA. VA today has about they have a whole big section on healthcare, and they have about 150 VA hospitals around the country. For your listeners on Long Island, we have the VA hospital in Northport, does a great job for our veterans. But what people don't realize is simultaneously, Lincoln founded the State Veterans Home Program, and it's the oldest partnership in the history of government, American government, between Washington, D.C. and all 50 states. So what they do is they put out a call back in the 1800s to say, hey, if your state is willing to build a home, which essentially is a nursing home, the federal government will fund it 2/3 if the state will match it 1/3. So the history of our home was that there was no state veterans home on Long Island. A bunch of veterans went to Albany, went to Washington, petitioned very hard, and they got the approval. And when we were opened in 1991, the original cost to build a home was about $30 million. The federal government at the time provided 20 million, and then Governor Cuomo, not Andrew, his daddy Mario, gave us the other 10 million. Hence, we opened our doors. And since 1991, we conservatively estimate that we have assisted about 15,000 veterans and their families who, and what do they need? What do? We do short-term rehabilitation. We do traditional long-term care. We do Alzheimer dementia care. And we're very good at palliative care, end-of-life care, hospice care. So that's our four mainstays. We're also blessed to have a medical model adult day healthcare program. And only 3 of the 171 state veterans homes in America have that. But it's an outstanding program, and we service our veterans from the Nassau-Suffolk border all the way east till about Riverhead, and that's a 6-hour day program, 9 to 3. We serve you 2 nutritious meals, breakfast and lunch, and our daycare is a medical model, not a social model. So real briefly, social model is breakfast, lunch, and a lot of bingo. Ours is breakfast, lunch, some bingo, but we're going to give you the nebulizer treatment. We're going to give you the wound care that you need. We're going to manage your medication. We're going to be checking your vital signs. Anything that you might need during the course of the day, we provide it. And Tommy, it's a great thing for caregivers. So I'm talking to the 85-year-old wife who's caring for the 86-year-old veteran husband, or I'm talking to the 50-year-olds who are caring for their grandfather who might be in his 80s or 70s or whatever. When they come here for the 6 hours, here's what we can do. I can change the battery in the hearing aid. I can clean their teeth in my dental suite. We can check their eyes with our optometrist who's on site. We can check their feet, with our podiatrist here. We can give them physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. All our daycare veterans keep their own doctor in the community. So if the doctor says, hey, Mr. Jones needs a blood draw, we can do it right here. So, and then we can give them a haircut too. So I've just saved the caregivers about 10 trips in the community. So that's what we do with daycare. On the nursing home side, Tommy, we can't do enough for our veterans at the end of the day. We still have about 20 World War II veterans in the building. I got one D-Day survivor here as well. We have a lot of Korean War vets, maybe about 80 or so. But the fastest growing population, sadly, because they should not need a nursing home, because they're in their mid to late 70s, is our Vietnam veteran population, all exposed to Agent Orange. You talk about kids not knowing history. You ask the average elementary school or high school kid, what's Agent Orange? They have no idea. Meanwhile, we have a whole, sector of veterans who are suffering the ravages of Agent Orange, whether it be cancers, musculoskeletal disorders, whatever. So, I'm not a veteran. I was after Vietnam and before 9/11, but as a healthcare executive, I'm very patriotic, and coming here has been my ultimate dream and giving back to our veteran population. We call them the 1%, Tommy. Never forget that less than 1% of Americans have wore the uniform of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, and now the Space Force to protect the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day. So for me, I'd like to tell you it's a job. It's actually a calling. I've been here 23 years, and I hope to end my career here as well.
Love that. Well, not anytime too soon, right? I mean,
Right. Okay, you got it.
What would you do if you were like not working, you'd still be doing a million things, right? It's not like you
I
would
golf, but you can't do that much golfing,
listen. I play too, but I don't want to play that much. Like I get to the 14th hole, I'm pretty much done. So
There you go.
every day would be something else. The 1%, I jotted down a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, obviously, all our gratitude and thanks to our veterans and who, for many times in our history, have not gotten the gratitude that they deserve. So we just put that out there now. Fred and I mean, Fred, we can't, guys like us can't be thankful enough for the work veterans have done. And I don't want to say it's all the time, but in a number of cases, our veterans don't get the support and appreciation that they need. And there are other challenges that we talk about this number, 22 a day. It's absolutely tragic
Yes.
that veterans are not finding the support, connection, relationships, mental health services that they need, and they attempt and or take their own lives. That is tragic. It is a tragedy. It's a travesty. We can't say enough about it, and I'll just leave that.
Well, homelessness too, Tommy. You got the suicide issue, you got the homelessness issue. There's a lot of issues. I think sometimes we just don't get the information to our veterans quick enough. Um, it's funny. My daughter did a story about 3 months ago. They sent it down to Louisiana, and there was a gun shop owner who just decided to, at no cost to the veterans, to store their guns if they're not feeling good or if they're in suicidal mode. I'm going to send you the piece after the broadcast, but it made national attention, and they were able to get away with it in Louisiana because it's one of those states that they're not going to take your gun away if you have a mental illness issue. But this guy has hundreds of guns in his store that he's safeguarding until the veteran feels better about him or herself and is out of that suicidal ideation mode at the end of the day. So
Great service, just for him to be so forward thinking to support the veterans in that fact.
right. Well, he was a veteran, served in Iraq, Afghanistan. So giving back to his comrades.
Unbelievable. You and I joked about it and about the haircut thing, but I always say to you every time I see you, I got to come out. You're giving out haircuts out there, but I say it because it makes people laugh. But the thing about it is, I wrote down right before you said caregivers, I wrote down caregivers, respite, and then you said caregivers. So it's just funny how I was keying into what you're saying because if you are a caregiver, first of all, caregivers take care of yourself. Self-care is not selfish. Okay. It's not. You can, we hear about the cliche and put on your oxygen mask, the whole thing. You got to take
Yeah.
yourself. You're no good to anybody else if you're not taking. I'm speaking to me, to Fred, to everybody, because a lot of us are in the sandwich generation, as they say, where we have elderly parents who are experiencing some
Tommy, shout out to my mom, 99 years old, going to be 100 next July.
God, shout
Dad's
out.
95.
Wow.
Mom was a cougar back in the day, back in the 50s. So it's but living in their own home with 24-hour aides, figuring it out.
Yeah,
So
they need you need the support at 99 for sure. And you said
oh yeah,
that's 95. You said, is that right?
yeah, and but we're all caregivers in one way or another. You know, I'm
100%.
blessed to have a brother that works with me. We'll work as a team, and trying to keep my parents' wishes alive to be in their own home.
That's a beautiful thing. And if you can do that and get them the support, and then again, if somebody can't get the support they need, and then they come into an organization like yours, if they're a veteran, but it's not, I
100%.
want to score something too. Just that last piece, a couple things actually. The fact that you say it's a respite time, I say, for the caregiver, because the individual's now with your team in this medical day hab, right? Is that the best term?
Yeah, it's called adult day healthcare.
Adult day healthcare. So again, you can get all those services and still have the community doc. However, it's not like the caregiver is running to 6, 7 doctor appointments because much of that can be handled when they're visiting with you.
Correct.
That's critically important. And then the other piece is, the caregiver gets kind of time to breathe and have their
Yeah, well, listen, if the person they're caring for had dementia, was up all night, now they can take a nap. They can go grocery shopping. They can get their own hair done. Those are we give them a solid 6 to 8 hours to get that done during the day.
and just touch on this before we go to a quick break, Fred. Also, I met some people when I was out for a visit that are spouses of somebody who served. So just
Yeah, so we do. New York State law allows us to care for spouses and widows too. truth be told, I always have to give an available bed to a veteran before I can do to a spouse or widow. But currently, we probably have about 15 or so spouses or widows in the building here. And we also take care of Gold Star parents, Tommy. So for audience members who don't know, a Gold Star parent is a mother or father who lost a son or daughter during military service. So it doesn't necessarily have to be combat. They could have got killed during training or some other aspect, and we'll take care of them as well.
Yeah. I remember, we'll go to break in a second, but I remember, so I went to Chaminade High School out here on Long Island, and they always every year would have a Gold Star Mass for the families of who had lost someone who.
So you went to school with Bill O'Reilly? Oh, you're not that old.
We went to the same building, you know.
Okay.
I was born in 78. I think Bill O'Reilly is 78. Like I think that's the but yeah, same school. And actually one of the members of not YMCA, the Village People was I don't remember which one it is. Maybe
a classmate of yours?
Not a classmate of mine. Again, I'm not that old, but like went to Chaminade, was a graduate of Chaminade. I don't know if it was the phone guy or the American Indian guy. I don't know.
Okay.
It was one of the people in the Village People. So
that's a fun fact.
There was a baseball player too. Oh, you know who also went to Chaminade? And then we got to take this break.
Al D'Amato, right? I think.
Yeah, and Brian Dennehy. Remember the actor Brian Dennehy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dennehy. I no, Fred. I was not in class with him either. He's gone, but he would probably be 100 if he was around. So
hey, listen, I went to Archbishop Malloy, and we had Ray Kelly, the infamous Andrew Cuomo.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's funny. So both my cousins.
Kenny the Jet.
Yes. Yeah.
Basketball. He went to my school.
So both my cousins and all my friends from Belrose, Queens, not all, but a majority of these guys are Malloy guys. So shout out to
my Stanner brothers.
Yeah, shout out to the Stanners. And I got a funny story. It's a guy used to come to the bar when I was a bartender. His name was Chaminade Steve. And if any of my friends are listening, oh my God. Chaminade Steve used to come in, and it was back when you could smoke cigarettes we called him Chaminade Steve. That wasn't his name, but he would come in and smoke cigarettes at the bar, and he would say, Jack Curran won't play us. And I go, what are you talking about? I go, I'm 22 years old. I haven't been in school in 3 years, right? Whatever it was, Jack Curran, the basketball coach, would never play.
He was God.
Yeah, but he wouldn't play, apparently, Chaminade basketball. And I would say to Chaminade Steve, dude, I don't really know. I don't really care. Like, I'm not in that world. I wasn't even on the basketball team when I was in this.
Wow. By the way, I don't know. He just passed away, Lou Carnesecca. He coached at Malloy before he went to St. John's. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I did know he had just.
Actually, the predecessor, St. Anne's, was before Malloy.
Oh, it was St. Anne's before it was Archbishop Malloy?
Yes. It became Malloy like in the late 50s.
I'll call you at 11:15. We'll talk high school basketball for an hour. All right? But I'm kidding. We won't. We'll take a quick break. Fred and Tommy in the attic. We've lost control of the show, which is exactly what we were supposed to do. We'll be right back.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Belrose, Queens. I just had a drop in the chat with a bunch of us that keep in touch from growing up, and I forgot this. My boy Danny Martin just goes. I said I just mentioned a Chaminade Steve story live on the show. He's another Dan Martin, FDNY guy. Archbishop Malloy grad. He goes, "Go Red," because that's what Chaminade Steve would come in. He would come in the bar and go, "Go Red, go Red." I was like, it was hysterical. Shout out, rest in peace, Steve, Chaminade Steve. We love you. Just funny stories about the past. Fred, let's talk about, how does somebody get involved, whether they want, if they have a family member and who needs services provided by Long Island State Veterans Home, how do they connect with you and the organization?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, Tommy, I want our veterans who are listening today, as well as their family members, to know that there are some great entitlements that veterans are entitled to as it relates to long-term care. If you were honorably discharged from the military, most of our vets don't know this, but you have a nursing home benefit, which is currently $144.10 per day. But you can only use that benefit at one of the 171 state veterans homes in the country. Want to mention that New York State has 5 homes. We own the franchise on Long Island, but the next closest state veterans home is probably in your listing area, and that's in St. Albans, Queens by JFK Airport. Then we have a home in Montrose, which is in the Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow area, Hudson Valley. And then we have one in Batavia near Buffalo and one in Oxford, which is near Binghamton. That being said, you do get that benefit coming to you. You can only use it at a state veterans home. There is a benefit too for adult day health care, and that's $114.81 per day. Tom, that number goes up every October 1st because that's when the federal year begins in our country. There's a second category of veteran, though, that I hope if anybody knows anybody in this category, they'll share this information. If you're a veteran who has a service-connected disability rating, your rating can be anywhere from 0 to 100, but if your rating is 70% or more, these veterans are entitled to no cost long-term care at any state veterans home in the country. And it's a very important factor, especially with our Vietnam veterans, because anyone in Vietnam who was exposed to Agent Orange is probably 100% service connected. And many of these veterans are unaware of this benefit. So I think I told you I have about 130 or so veterans in this category at the home now, and they're getting great care. But you must know your benefits at the end of the day. Also, if you're in that 70% or more and you live in the Suffolk County area, you're also entitled to no-cost adult day health care. We passed a law back in 2017. Myself and my deputy director, Jonathan Spear, we walked the halls of Washington, D.C. Congress. You may or may not know Lee Zeldin. He was our congressman out here in Congressional District 1. When he got elected back in 2016, he said he was serving on the Veterans Affairs Committee, which is highly unusual for a New York congressional member. So we worked very quick. He said, "I'd like to do something. What can we do?" I said, "Lee, veterans who are 70% or more, they get free nursing home care, but they don't get free medical model daycare." And he said, "All right, let's pass a law." So we wrote a white paper. It became a bill. And I'm proud to tell you, Tommy, we got that done in 13 months, which is unheard of. And Trump signed it into law. Most bills take 2 to 3 years to get through the halls of Congress. Now, what's important is the day the bill was signed, 6 of our veterans who were living here at the nursing home got to go home and sleep in their own bed and be with their own family because now their daycare was paid for. The family didn't have any other choice but to institutionalize these veterans. Now we deinstitutionalize them, and they come to program now, and they get to sleep in their own bed and be with their own family at the end of the day. So, Tommy, one of the things I live by, I want to put this out too, is that if you don't like the law, go change it. And we've done that here many times in the last 23 years.
If you don't like the law, go change it. You can get involved, gang.
Right.
That group down there in Washington, D.C., or that other gang up in Albany, I shouldn't use the word gang. I don't mean it derogatory, but those folks those folks in D.C., they work, I don't want to say for us, but they work with us.
Oh, they do work for us. That is true.
Try not to be too arrogant about it, but yeah, they work for us, right? Like we put them in this place. So, but you know what it is also I don't know if it's come to the defense of, but those folks don't know everything. They need people from community to educate them. They need you to go up there. And, I've been up in Albany with the Queens Chamber of Commerce. Haven't been down to DC for things like this, but I would, if you're going down to DC, Fred, and there's things and I can come along and just be another guy to talk to people and try to make impact, I'm happy to do it. We do another show called The Professionals, an animal lovers show all about animal advocacy. We were calling and leaving messages to get the anti-puppy mill bill taken care of, and we left messages for Governor Hochul and And that's it, man. These are just people. Don't get intimidated by them. Just tell them and help educate them.
Tommy, my mother's a high school graduate, okay? 99 years old, God bless her. But she taught me one thing. Ready? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So
I say it all the time, right? So I've been telling this story about that phrase because I used to be a knucklehead diva sales guy, right? So I used to give sales managers a lot of grief, right? I want this, and can you fix this? So one day I said, dude, I was talking to this guy. He was my manager at the time. My sales manager's name was Joe. And I go, you know what, Joe? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And he goes, you know what, Tommy D? Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets replaced. And I laughed, and I got it. I said, yes, good on you. Good on you. It didn't really slow me down a bit being a bit of a diva sales guy, but I laughed about it. But the squeaky wheel guys, speak up, advocate. Look, you made a white paper that then became a bill, and then it was a law, right? That's how it was.
Yeah. And we discharged 6 people out of the nursing home and got to let them sleep in their own bed at night. So.
Which also, right, the ripple effect of that is that 6 available beds that someone else can then.
Correct.
So it's right.
You're right. You're right.
Really important stuff. Look, you don't like the laws, get involved, change it, make the world a better place. Fred, how can we help? What do you need, relationship wise, connection?
Well, Tommy, we have a very robust volunteer department here. It's under the leadership of Samantha Calandrino. People can go to our website, www.listateveteranshome.org. And, I want to give a shout out to Samantha because in our volunteer department, and I think on top, Tommy, you can hit, there you go, volunteer. She sits down with every potential volunteer and we find out what people like to do. So you're not told what to do when you get here. You're asked what you would like to do, and we connect those dots for you. I have a gentleman here whose only love is plants, and he's watering plants twice a week. And we have a lot of plants because we're a big building, but we found we found what he loved to do. And Tom, can I be honest? Our plants never look better. I mean, we have so many.
Because he's in flow. He's in his bliss. His bliss is to plants. That's awesome. Let him water the plants.
Well, that and Miracle Grow. Come on, those 2 things. So it's so we do that, and you can volunteer here young as 16 years old. We have volunteers in their 80s right now. So
it says here it's Valentine's application, 14 to 17 years old. So
I apologize. I stand corrected. 14 to 16.
No, I wasn't trying to correct you. I was just trying to say how great is that? Young people can get involved. I'm going to stop sharing the screen because we got to draw this show to a close. We are out of time. It happens every week that way. So, Fred, I appreciate you. I want to stay connected. Don't ever hesitate to ask me for favors.
Sure.
Like I know how to return a favor. You know what I mean? So it's like that sort of thing. But I make myself laugh.
One hand washes the other, Tom.
I appreciate you. Thank you for being my friend. All right, make it a great weekend, everybody. Fred Sganga, thank you.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate, do it with your family. Make it peaceful, make it joyous, and don't forget about 2025. Healthy and prosperous. Let's go.
Everything he said. Make it a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through